于意大利的米兰。当时日本工业得益于精益和 TPM 的广泛应用，取得了长足进步，并给欧美企业带来了强大的竞争压力。在此背景下，艾菲索咨询得以成立，旨在学习日本的精益和 TPM 管理，提升欧洲国家的企业管理水平。艾菲索也从80年代就成为了日本的 GIPM 的技术合作伙伴，协助全球100多家企业获得了 GIPM 颁发的各级 TPM 奖项。80年代卓越运营的舞台上，百家争鸣。TPM 旨在追求设备的可靠性，精益追求流程的速度，而诸如摩托罗拉、通用电气等美国企业所推崇的6西格玛管理，则关注如何缩小流程变异，提升质量稳定性。不同的运营流派也给不少企业的选择带来了一定困难。1986年，美国学者施恩伯格提出，是否能够基于 TPM、精益、6西格玛打造一个整合的体系，帮助企业在一个完整的体系下，针对不同的挑战进行管理。WCM 世界级制造的概念也就应运而生。艾菲索的创始团队菲利波、乔治、卡洛等人非常认可这个理念，于是从80年代末，艾菲索开始致力于将 WCM 这个学术概念转化为一套企业可以落地实施的管理体系。从90年代开始，艾菲索支持了众多行业知名企业，在 WCM 的框架下，帮助其开发打造运营管理体系。2005年，艾菲索与法国的战略管理咨询机构 Solving 合并，给客户提供从战略到运营落地的全面服务，并将总部从米兰搬到了法国巴黎。在此期间，艾菲索的咨询能力不断拓展，逐步形成了以 WCM 为核心，覆盖运营战略、供应链、研发、采购、实验室管理、办公流程等端到端价值流的咨询服务，形成了 WCOM 世界级运营管理体系。2012年，结合了几十年项目经验的反思和总结，艾菲索正式建立了人员动力专业团队，在流程的基础上，通过强化人员对变革的采纳和锚定的 A2 模式，形成了 P 等于 D 乘以 A 平方的服务框架，帮助客户建立长期能力，打造拥抱变革的企业文化，来确保体系的长期稳定运作。2014年是艾菲索中国的一个重要里程碑。在这一年，艾菲索中国区打造了一支由中国人领导，了解中国市场和客户，努力服务中国企业的管理咨询团队。从2014年至今，艾菲索中国的民族品牌客户份额已经由0稳步提升至目前的65%。基于艾菲索集团的优异表现，2019年，艾菲索被第三方评估机构 ALM 评选为全球前5的运营管理咨询专业机构，受到了市场的高度认可和肯定。同一年，艾菲索与总部位于德国慕尼黑的 RI 咨询公司合并。RI 专注于汽车等离散性行业的精益服务以及工业4.0的研究和开发。RI 在德国最早创立了数字化人才的培养和认证服务，为众多企业培养最前沿的管理人才。并从2013年开始创立了工业4.0奖项，为全球企业4.0的应用和发展提供最佳实践。我们在中国也即将推出此项服务。艾菲索由专注流程 process 和人员动力 human dynamic 的基础上，结合工业4.0的相关技术，形成了 PhD 的全面服务 process 加 human dynamic 加 digital。艾菲索内部专业团队也开发了数字化平台 Solvence， 包括数字化绩效控制系统 Digital PCS 以及数字化改善系统 EWCM。艾菲索咨询在 PhD 的服务模式基础上，结合了 2P 的工具箱上完整细致的路径，我们将传统的体系建设从精英文化转变为平民文化，真正实现了全员参与，赋能客户。同时，我们致力于打造专业全职的咨询团队，确保强大有力的项目管理和客户服务。展望未来， 我们将持续践行我们的服务宗旨，协助客户加速改善，在今天快速获取改善成果，在明天能够长期稳定和保持。1980年，艾菲索咨询成立于意大利的米兰。当时，日本工业得益于精益和 TPM 的广泛应用，取得了长足进步，并给欧美企业带来了强大的竞争压力。在此背景下，艾菲索咨询得以成立，旨在学习日本的精益和 TPM 管理，提升欧洲国家的企业管理水平。艾菲索也从80年代就成为了日本的 GIPM 的技术合作伙伴，协助全球100多家企业获得了 GIPM 颁发的各级 TPM 奖项。
We are going to start soon.
80年代卓越运
Good morning or good evening, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is Vincent. Thank you for your greetings, but hello, everyone. Let's hold our greeting because we have a lot of external participants for the webinar. Okay, our today's webinar topic is establishing anti-fragile value chain and eradicate end-to-end losses. The lecturer of today's session is Jean-Marc. Jean-Marc, expert of EXPO world-class value chain program. And Jean-Marc, I would introduce the ground rule. For today's session, we have participants through 2 different channels. Some of participants are connecting through Teams. So for you, please mute yourself for the entire session. If you have questions, please say end of session and unmute. Of course, you can type the question as well. For those people who are joining through WeChat channel, you can leave your questions anytime in the application. Now let me hand to Jean-Marc. The total session will be around 90 minutes. Jean-Marc, it's your turn now.
Yes, thank you, Vincent. I have turned on the video, and do you see me now on the screen? Just to say hello.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Jean-Marc.
Hi, guys.
Ciao, Jean-Marc.
Thank you for
Hello, Jean-Marc.
today.
Bonjour, Jean-Marc.
Bonjour,
Hello,
Jean-Marc.
thank you. So this is a great pleasure. So I will turn off the camera in a second. Vincent, just in case there is an issue with the sound, let me know on WeChat, because when you talk, I didn't hear all of it. So just in case it's not clear for the participant and they send you some message, please connect on WeChat. So let's go now. Good. So before starting, I would like to thank you, Vincent, Jackie, and Christina, for all the preparation on the webinar. And on the top of that, I would have to thank you as well, Gaëtan Douvier and Catherine Admiral, who has shared a lot with me to prepare the design of the presentation and the content. So thank you to all, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So let's start with this quote before going directly to the subject. You are poor when you don't have the power to influence your future. I have selected this quote today because on a very challenging moment with the COVID virus, we all feel that we may lose something at the end of this virus journey. From company perspective, companies feel they are going to lose money, they are going to lose profit, that they are going maybe to lose customer and supplier. From employee perspective, people feel that they may lose their jobs. Even worse, they may have to reconsider totally the project for the future, and maybe to reconsider the project of their children for the future. So, in a nutshell, we feel that we are going to have less at the end of the day. But it is not a given. It is not a fatality. We may have less, but there is a great opportunity to become more. And this is all about this seminar. The value chain is the very first thing you need to learn and master to build a future. At this end of this webinar, you will feel you can do much better than you think you could do during those very shaky moments. At the end of the seminar, you will understand how to get started. And at the end of the seminar, you will probably change the way of doing things in the coming days. So, welcome in a new way of thinking value chain. I am Jean-Marc working in FASO for 10 years. I am a value chain expert, and I have delivered with my colleague dozens of value chain assignments in many different sectors. So let's start with this, and let's spend few moments on this sentence. Knowledge plus understanding is not equal to taking good decisions. It is not important the level of graduated people you have in the company. It is not important the level of accessing to the information you can have in your company. All of this is totally useless if it does not help you to take good decisions on a daily basis. To say differently, all of this is not useful if you're not looking for learning and failing every day. In many companies we see on the market, people, they know digital is important, they really know it. They know that employees come first, they know that. They know that customers matter. They understand why all of this is very important. But at the end of the day, most of the case you have two situations. Paralysis by analysis. They know stuff, but they don't do action. They just talk. Or, even worse, they are not in a position to select what to do, so they want to do all of it at the same moment. They want to go digital, engage employee, make customer happy, make money, make profit, blah, 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 all in a row. So they don't take the good decision. So if you compare a company hiring super smart people from the best university of the world, Harvard, Polytechnic, Shanghai Institute, wherever, Milan Polytechnic. If you compare this company with those guys, understanding and knowing, doing analysis, but not making decision in the full company, if you compare that to a very average company with average people, the biggest company with the smartest people will fail against the average company who is able to make decisions on a daily basis. And you will see that later. The big message here is at the end of the webinar, all the intent of this webinar is to increase the motivation, to increase the feeling that you have to take decisions. Lots of them, the good ones. To think that you have to think long term and not be scared and feared by the short term. But you have to take those decisions for real. There is no way of talking anymore. So this is the message of this slide. Before starting on the journey to value chain, I would like to create alignment about what is the situation of the business right now. You all know that business is really under pressure. Let's have a look on the internal pressure. So for this part, we've been using a BCG survey that they made a few years ago. And on this survey, they have studied some company from 1955 to 2010. And they have measured the increase of this external complexity, meaning the number of requirements that a company needs to satisfy. And in 50 years, the external complexity has increased by a factor of 6. That means more standard to be compliant with, more norms, more social constraint, more environmental constraint, more financial constraint. So all of this has increased complexity. Let's have a look on the reaction of the company to answer to this complexity. Internally, they have increased their internal complexity by 35. That means that they have clearly overreacted to external constraint. What does it mean? They have made layers of function. They have created new vertical function. They have made a lot of process, lots of procedures. They have created coordination entities. They have created different interface. In the end, internal is becoming extremely challenging. This is why, from Gallup survey, we know that 80% of the employees are not engaged in the big company today. They are not engaged. Anyhow, this trend is pretty logical. If you go from 1955 to 2020, you will see that for sure, business has grown, turnover has grown, and geography was bigger. The company expanded all over the world. To manage this, of course, you need kind of administration, not to say bureaucracy. So you put more and more process. And to manage this process, you need more and more people, more and more resources. The problem with this is, in the meantime, for the employee, the level of motivation, the level of autonomy, and the quality of the collaboration has totally decreased. Because by practice, it has become more and more complex. By the way, just to come back to the very essence of lean, the very essence of lean is not productivity, is not efficiency. The very essence of lean is to manage bureaucracy, not to lose sight on what matters the most. This is the essence of lean. Sometimes we tend to forget that. So the internal complexity, when you have this kind of vertical structure, there is something that we need to understand. We have divided thinker with people executing stuff. There is a clear cut. And there is more and more misunderstanding between the two. Even if you have those vertical approach, companies are still looking for performance and they need money and they want to be super good. So what they do, they go for a lot of functional excellence program. That means I want to be extremely strong in manufacturing at the silo. I want to be extremely strong in logistics at the silo. I want to be super strong in sales at the silo, and so on and so forth, marketing, business processes, and everything. And they really hope 1 + 1 + 1 makes 3. Does not work. It only works if functional excellence is totally, entirely in sync, in purely synchronization. Most of the company will be the case. So this misalignment and the research of functional excellence create even more stress because you feel you are doing the things well, but you end up with not better results as a whole. Again, everybody knows that. All the big company knows that. But because you're scared to do something different, they keep on asking even more functional excellence that bring even more pressure onto the people. Let's have a look on the external pressure. So for this one, I took the example of automotive. Why? Because automotive is supposed to be extremely advanced in terms of technology. Automotive is supposed to be extremely mature. I mean, we do car for 100 years almost now. And you know, when you see someone coming from the automotive business, you wow, my goodness, you've been in automotive. You must be super smart. You must be super strong. And many people admire people in automotive. This super mature business is totally attacked in every single bit of the structure of the car. All the sub-assemblies, all the components are under pressure with totally unknown competitors. Even this mature business. We could have made exactly this slide, by the way, coming from CB Insight. The source is CB Insight. For consumer packaged good, it's all the same. We could have done exactly the same for tourism, same results. They attack everywhere. So we know there are a lot of competitors to deal with. Okay, then on the top of that, the pace of change is much faster than the pace of learning, which is extremely challenging for the company, because that means that external is moving faster than you can understand and host competence. So as we saw before, you need to take good decision because you cannot learn everything. It's not true. You need to select carefully what is the next learning you need to acquire to keep on creating value. On the top of that, here, adoption of new product is much faster than ever. People put a product or a service on the market. Someone should go on mute maybe. So they launch new product on the market, and in the end, the adoption is getting faster and faster. That means that traditional companies are trying to compete and are trying to follow the trend, but they're always a little late. And it put a lot of pressure as opposed to the curve of innovation in the past. So there is someone who is not unmute. Okay, so there is more and more new learnings on the market, more and more more and more new product. So companies are really under pressure because they have to choose the learning and have to select carefully what kind of product they can launch. They cannot launch all the product. It's not possible. So again, it's about making good decision. And knowing this is not enough to take good decision. And we will see that with figures later. So if we come to understand what are the impact. The impact with people working in silo here and with external pace of change is a disaster on people. Why? Because they get totally confused. There is many noise around them, a lot of noise. On the top of that, to find a link between silo and external, many companies decide to claim some value. For instance, you have some company, they say, please guys, act as an entrepreneur, be a leader, be agile, be respectful, be trustful. And they don't really get it. Why? Because when you work in a silo, you don't really understand what means act as an entrepreneur. When you are just in the executing part, it doesn't really mean anything for you to act like a leader. So all of this is extremely confusing, extremely stressful, and people lose sight on what matters. And what matters is simple. What matters is customer. What matters is connecting with your colleagues to understand what you should do to improve. There is someone who is not unmute. So, and they lose sight on that. As a result, not only people are not engaged, but even worse, 80% of the people, this is coming from Edelman survey, 80% of the people are worried about being fired. They are worried about losing their jobs. And when companies talk more and more about automatization, more and more about working without people, of course it increases stress. It's not it is good enough. It's just about understanding the impact on the employee, on the people who are supposed to deliver the value for you on a daily basis. What is the impact on the stock market of internal complexity and pace of change? This index, called the Wix index, that we can call the panic index, measure the expectation of stock market volatility over the next 30 days. And it is used on the S&P 500, which is an index of a US index, grouping companies from the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. So how you should read that? That means that investor, that means that people putting money on the stock market and company, even on a pretty stable period, this one, they are super scared by the volatility. They're super scared by the volatility. It goes from 10 to 45. That means those guys, they don't feel secure about what's going to happen in the coming 30 days for the company. They feel they don't get it. They feel it's going to be a mess. I repeat, in the coming 30 days, they're into panic. The vicious circle of that is when investors when shareholders are in a panic mode, the CEO are in a super panic mode. And when the CEO in the super panic mode, the company ability to react drop down to zero. So they go for functional excellence because this is the only thing they know. And this is normal because this is the only thing where they think they can act. Because working horizontally, working in team is much more difficult than working vertically. So you understand, I didn't put the figure of March 2020 because the index went up to 85. And in 2008, the index was close to 70. So still in a normal mode, panic is everywhere for the investor. What is the consequence for the life duration of a company? So this index measure the lifespan expectation on the S&P 500. So let's read it together. When you are here, that means that company on the being listed on the S&P 500 could stay listed on this index for 60 years on average. So they could stay at the top for quite a while. In 2000, it dropped to something a little below 25 years. Forecast is that it's going to drop till 50 years. That means company stay at the top less and longer. I've got some colleagues who are extremely fan about fact and figures. This is fact and figures. This is what the market tells us. This is what, despite all the effort of company to make transformation, despite all the speech they do, they fail. And today, the webinar is all about how to become anti-fragile and to stay at the top, of course. Let's have a video, hoping that you will hear the noise to see what is really the pace of change and what is a racing competition for real. Good. So you could feel and you could see the piece of change in motion. It's not about talking. BlackBerry is very small into this radar. Nokia is not anymore in this. Samsung and Apple are leading the way. It's interesting to see that those anti-fragile companies like Apple are really looking for value. And I will just share a comment about this company, not about the phones, but about the laptop, and it's almost the same for the phone. And try to capture those figures because they're really inspiring. Market share of Mac is 7%. Market share of Mac equipment is 7% on the market. Profit share, that means how much of the profit they capture on this market, 60%. 60. Having only 7% of the market share, they capture 60% of the value. That's inspiring. And this is really about anti-fragility. So companies to react and to face change, to face adversity, to face competitor, they've got a solution. In the past, they call it change management, but it didn't work. So they say, let's do something different. Let's call it transformation plan. And transformation plan sounds good. Even so, it looks like short term, sounds very exciting. And in this very moving environment, it's all about agility. And by chance, you can become agile. This map, which is indeed a very good document that you can download easily on the net, tells you where to start, where to end to become agile. Well, so when you see that, you have different reactions. The first one could be, that's good news. Because if you are very focused on processes, if you're very focused on methodology, this document is awesome because all the processes are there. You've got all the methodology, all the documentation. So you just have to train people and that's it, you're agile. Doesn't work. The bad news when you see that is you don't really understand how it's going to work with the connection with a different silo. You don't get it. Other bad news is it may take ages before you understand it. You understand? More than 30 days, more than a quarter. So it will not be completely applicable. Let's have a look on what is the success ratio of transformation company. 75% of transformation plan fail. This is fact and figures. You may like it, you may agree or disagree. This is fact and figures. In transformation plan, what do I put? I put digital transformation. And someone is not on mute. Digital transformation plan, indeed, the failure is a little higher, it's 80%. What do we mean by failure? Failure is when the CEO himself says, my plan or the plan we have initiated does not deliver the expected outcome. It's performing much lower. This is a failure. It doesn't mean that there is nothing good out of it. It's not the meaning. It means it's much below what we said we should get. It's much below that we told to the market, to shareholder that we will achieve. It's lower. Merger and acquisition program to buy skill, to buy agility, because the biggest company, even Google, even Facebook, because they grow too fast, they need to buy agility elsewhere. Because we need to understand that in the company, the ways they operate, it's extremely hard for them, even if they want to turn agile, to be agile. So they will keep on buying small company because small company have got purpose. Small company have motivation. Small company put soul into the game, not only money. So they buy it because they cannot do that internally. So M&A, on average, a little more than 80% failure. People know that, they understand it, but they still buy a lot of company. New product launch, between 70 to 90% failure. Change management, the leadership program. The market is higher than $10 billion in the world. It does not change the figure that 80% of the people are disengaged. Does not say that 80% of the employees are disengaged. So all of this, we could say, for some results below expectations. So why do we get there? So the reality is, just like anything in transformation, anything dealing with change, the change is good for the other. Transformation is good for the other. Let me explain. When top management initiate this, the plan, because their thinker is, I want the people who execute to change. There is someone who is not mute. So the plan is, the thinker say, I want to transform so people from executing will change. This is a problem because the first thing you need to transform is the top management way of thinking. The first thing you need to transform is the way shareholders understand value. This is the first thing to do. If you don't change that, how can you expect that things are going to change below? It's not possible. Why? Because it's silo. So by design, by practice, it's dead right at the beginning. Second, you need to challenge the structure. So you need to go from vertical to what we call team of teams. If you're interested by the subject, you can actors because we have a lot to say about how to operate in team of teams, which is a full topic. The last one and the biggest failure of all of this, you see that all of this, it is not about the customer. You understand it is not about understanding the new behavior of the customer. If you have some children, you may feel that many kids are concerned by ethics. Many kids are concerned by easiness. The way they buy, the way they see the world has nothing to do with what we see. And this is what we call the inversion of expertise. This is the same for people programming, the best programmer, they are hacker. They're what, 50 years old, 20 years old. We don't understand what they do, but they're the one who are changing the thing. So if you fail in understanding where the customers are going, how do they see the world, whatever the transformation you will do, you will just die. There is no other end up of this story. On the top of that, the more you're under pressure, and it happens when you were at school, when you were a student, it happens everywhere in life. The more you're under pressure, the more you're looking for quick wins. Forget quick wins. It does not exist. Think about quick learnings. Think about quick failure. When you think about quick wins, you want to go for the shortcut. Example of a shortcut is benchmark. You don't understand anything to what happens, so you say, I have to copy what the other are doing. I will give you an example. You have a family. You don't feel really happy in this family. You have a partner, that's okay, you've got some children, but somewhere you feel you're not doing well. And your neighbor is extremely happy. The family is awesome, fantastic. They have 2 kids like you, there is a partner, and you say, well, I've got an idea. I will copy what they do. We call that benchmark. So you are going to copy the metrics. You are going to see the size of the partner, 180 centimeter, the weight, the age of the kids, what they do at school, what they buy, what the car is on, what the house. You are going to do everything exactly the same. Benchmark. Hoping that getting the same metrics will give the same results. It doesn't work. Copying metrics doesn't give results. It doesn't give you, sorry, there is someone who is not mute. So if you are focused on copying people metrics, it doesn't really help you out. Forget about benchmark. When you do a race, you just have to be the first. If you spend your time looking backwards, you will go into the wall. So it's about asking the right question. But if you benchmark the culture, if you go to your neighbor and say, what makes you happy in life? What is your vision of life? Maybe you will learn something, but don't try to copy the metrics. So in short-term vision company, those figures are coming for a very recent McKinsey study, and are extremely inspiring. Not recent, sorry, 2016. So it is coming from interview with executive and managing director. So it's very serious. I mean, we are talking about the C-level. They say that they have a lot of pressure to make results within 2 years. It's extremely short. Do you think that in a country, a government can make changes in 2 years? No, you don't think that. In multinational company, do you really think that in 2 years you can achieve results? Maybe, but it will be at the expense of all the other indicators. It will be at the expense of the employee engagement. It will be at the expense of the customer. We can, but will have some consequences. Even better, they say that pressure is increasing. So the more we go, and that's normal, the more competition is getting tougher and tougher, the more the environment is looking uncertain, the more they have pressure. Because investors, they want to protect money, so they're super scared and say, please give me the money back as soon as I can. So the pressure is increasing a lot. And now this is something which is absolutely amazing. The last one. People, they invest millions to write value. And they put the value on the wall. They put people on value. They say, this is what we think we are. But in the end, if they have to eat a target, a financial target here, for the quarter, for the quarter, not for the year, for the quarter, they will sacrifice the value. When you do that, you can throw away your value. You can forget about trust. You can forget about leadership training. That's over, because your behavior clearly shows that it is just lie. There are good reasons for that, because managing directors, to be honest, they do their best to find a good balance between investor, short-term vision, and long-term engagement. They do that. It's a very difficult job to be a CEO or to be an MD. And they suffer to a certain extent. But we need to understand the dynamics. We need to understand that short-term vision at a certain moment is not creating what we call anti-fragility. In the same study, they compare short-term thinking company with long-term. And they did that from 2001 till 2014. And with, I would say, a sample of almost 600 companies, which is quite significant. In 14 years, long-term companies are generating 80% more profit on average. In 14 years, long-term vision company with a purpose are generating 81% more benefit. Of course, if you say that to some investor here, they may go with you. But if they're looking for money just here, they will not follow you. You can see there, it's quite interesting that even during difficult period like 2008, of course, anti-fragile company, long-term vision company, they still suffer, just like the other, just the same. They've got the same problem. And it's funny to see here that at a certain moment, short-term company did better because they protect the money better. But here, even under pressure, it didn't really change the purpose of long-term company. So what is it all about? It is all about understanding that on the way to value chain, we see short-term people in company versus long-term company. We know, everybody know and understand what they should do. The main challenge is to make it for real. All those figures are for you to share internally to increase the motivation, to increase the courage to put that on the table and to say, guys, we need to make it different. We really have to think differently. If you're a short-term company, of course. If you're a long-term company, it's not for you. Let's have a look on this comparison between a super performing company and I would say extremely famous company. So you see Procter and Gamble, Amazon, Apple, General Motors, and Alibaba. And if you take Procter and General Motors, you see that this is revenue. Huh? All of this is in billion of revenue. You see that those companies, they're innovative company. They launch really just like P&G. They make a lot of new products. It is a great multinational company. They send new product on a monthly basis, and they're super strong. They make a lot of advertisement on television everywhere on the web. The same for General Motors. They make a lot of innovation. And at best, revenue remains stable. It's not good or bad, just what we see. They do a lot of effort. They invest a lot to remain stable. It's interesting to notice that P&G, as an example, is extremely strong in supply chain. I repeat, P&G is extremely strong in supply chain. Supply, not value, supply. Supply chain. If you follow the usual suspect, Amazon and Apple, you see that they were a small player. They were not even in the radar of General Motors. But you see this steady increase all along the year. They don't change the purpose. And they have a long-term vision. They are anti-fragile and they keep on growing. The same for Alibaba. Alibaba is a fantastic company with Jack Ma, the CEO that you know, which is really, really inspiring. Alibaba CEO, Jack Ma, say, revenues are not important. This guy say, revenue important, also is keep on growing. That's amazing. It doesn't look the metrics, but it keep on growing. That's quite inspiring. If we take the value of this company, let's take the value of Amazon and Alibaba. So Amazon state, we want to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. They want to be the most customer-centric company of the world. And when you work with those guys, you feel this is for real. When you call them or when you chat with them, they can give you an answer. They don't have to call the boss to make you a credit. They can decide. They make the decision right away. That's super fast. And Alibaba value, there are many which are very inspiring that you can find here. And the first one is customer first, employee second, shareholder third. Customer first, employee second, shareholder third. And we will explain what it is definitely the best formula. When you invest in Alibaba, you know that you are the third one. But when you invest on Alibaba, you know that the trend is super positive for you. There's no risk. Just like Amazon, Alibaba, the shareholder we invest there, they're looking for long term. They're not in the stress mode. Alibaba and Amazon are looking for, other companies are looking for supply chains. The other are looking for value chains. So you can see and feel the difference. Again, and this is fact and figures. So let's end up with this one. Speed. So people who are transformation centric are less performing than pure customer centric company. Here we go again with speed against velocity. In many companies, people say, well, we need to make quick wins in 3 months. We need to go super fast. We need to increase speed. It is not what you should do. When you increase speed in a silo organization like this, you increase mess. You increase disconnection. You increase pressure. You increase frustration. Why? Because 75% of the project fail. So it's not about speed. It's about velocity. Velocity, this is speed with purpose. Why do we do that for? Why is it important for us to do that? It is about focusing and choosing the right sequence. This is what you call velocity. Speed alone is just like making cycle and cycle and cycle. So this is a major difference as well between short-term company and long-term company. If you go back to the graph, you understand that this is velocity. And all the rest is speed. So, fact and figures, based on all those data, which are not that old, and 10 years old, 10 years, I would say, span analysis, we see that transformation in terms of value creation is much less powerful than being anti-fragile. And to help you to understand a little better, let's have a look what anti-fragile is for real. Anti-fragile is a concept brought on the table by Nicolas Nassim Taleb. I strongly advise you to watch videos and read books. It is not a good political guy. He's really straightforward and he's really inspiring. So, when you're a fragile company, what does it mean? You face a problem, you face stress, like COVID or 2008 crisis. If you're fragile, boom, you die right away. There is a problem, you're not capable to cope with it, you disappear. Then, if you're what we call a resisting company, resisting is about physical. That means there is a shock. Physically, you absorb part of the shock, but at a certain moment, you lose your energy. And even if you absorb it, you don't understand the shock and you fail. Resilient is better. Resilient is about physical plus mental. When you're resilient, you know you will have obstacles. You know you cannot avoid the obstacle. You know it's going to fall on you. You absorb the shock and mentally you try to get ready for the next obstacles. So you can last a little longer. But where I want to bring you is you cannot decide, you don't navigate. You see the obstacle, but you just bump into it. You don't know how to make those obstacles an opportunity for you. Anti-fragility, as you can see, is very exciting. The more there is stress, the more there is panic, the more there are some unexpected events, the more you perform. This is what we see with Apple, for instance, but not only, with a lot of small companies, and we can share that on that you see that it's working well. And that means they take the opportunity of all those changes to say, we can adapt and understand better. And those companies, they take the decision from the very first obstacle, and the second, and the third, and the fourth. They always take decision. They decide what they should learn. They decide what they should do as a focus. And they test, they fail, and they try again, and they try again. And the more you train, the better you become. I've got a friend, maybe connected on the webinar. He told me a very fantastic story. So this friend is making sky falling parachute. And he told me, during the 500 fall, 500, you don't understand anything about the 5 first seconds. You just fall. You don't really know what happens. Your brain is not capable to understand it. You just see stuff, but you cannot react. Only after 500 falls, you see what happens during those 5 seconds. That means you practice 500 times to master the 5 seconds of the shock. And when you're anti-fragile, you go into the problem and you say, I'm going to learn like hell. I'm going to find value out of this because I want to go further. The thing is very clear. Pace of change is increasing. Pace of unexpected drama is increasing in Australia. COVID today, financial crisis, environmental issue. So for sure, you will get other problems after COVID. So the message is, if you focus short term, you will end up at best being robust, lucky, resilient, but you will not be anti-fragile. So you need to train now to step back, to be strong about what you want to be as a company, and say, I will take the best decision I can, not to win in June, not to win in December, to win in 2022, to win in 2025. It is not the same way of thinking. It's totally different. There is a very famous investor called Larry Fink. This guy is the boss of BlackRock, which is an investment company, and they manage 6,000 billion. And they manage 6,000 billion of dollars. Huh? You understand? $6,000 billion. The biggest company ever. Okay. And these guys say, you can check, COVID is a fantastic opportunity for company to find a purpose. I repeat. COVID is a fantastic opportunity to find a purpose, to switch from supply to value, to switch from achieving stuff as opposed to advance your cause. So really an exceptional moment. So you can decide, as a boss, you can decide. Do I stay in the fear zone? I am scared and I will keep on trying to save money? Or do I take this opportunity to engage my people with me, to put on the table my real purpose and to go for anti-fragility? Because you know that in a few years, you will be the strongest. Take this opportunity. Take this opportunity with us, please. We know how to do that. So anti-fragility, when you see this drawing, which is very self-explaining, when people are doing boats, they know that by heart, the wind is not a problem. If you have the wind in front of you, it is not a problem. It is very good if you want to move on. So wind, obstacles is your friend. The only thing you need to do is not to go straight away like this, because you are going to suffer. Just like robust company, like resilient, you're going to suffer. You have to find a way to navigate. And the message is embrace complexity. Welcome unexpected event. Be positive with this, because if you resist, you will lose your power, you will lose your energy, you will lose your purpose. You need to give power to the team to find the way to navigate. If you have a purpose, they know where they should go and they will adapt. It is not possible in the thinking and executing mode to do that. It's not possible because the time to think is too late. You think and the boat, boom, is not there anymore. So keep this drawing in mind. And the last message is you cannot process complexity. You cannot put complexity into equation. You cannot make methodology to face complexity on a daily basis. Why? Because by design, by essence, it is unexpected. So don't spend time planning. French are super good for planning. They spend 80% of planning, 20% of action, and we know the results. Be much more like people in Japan, in Asia. 20% of planning, 80% of action. Go for that, and you will learn really, really, really fast. You will fail, of course, but you will learn extremely fast, and you will enjoy it. You will enjoy complexity because you feel that you are growing. If you take an example in your own life, the moment where you felt happy, the moment where you felt proud of yourself, it was not when it was easy. It was not when you did something very simple. It was not even when you had a good bonus. It's not true. The moment you felt proud of yourself is when you went through tough moment, when you made a great job, even without being, because it was something where you learn. It was tough, it was difficult, you didn't sleep, but you did it. And you're super proud of yourself. This is what you need to do. Don't look for the easy part. Go for suffering, and from suffering you will learn. This is again from Nicolas Taleb. Good. So now we understand that complexity is your friend. We understand that all the business, they know what they should do, but they don't really. Okay. So let's go. You can become anti-fragile. So anti-fragility, as you saw on the graph, is about value. So the question is, if you want to become anti-fragile, you really need to understand what value is. The funny thing with value, everybody understands chain in the word value chain, but they don't really understand what value is, or they understand, but they understand with their own perspective. Value is in every single agenda of any kind of big company. We need to have a vision, mission, and value. We need to deliver value to the holder. We need to deliver value to the customer. We need to do value chain. We need to value the employee. Wow, that's fantastic. Value is everywhere. When value is everything, when value is everywhere, that means that value is nothing and value is nowhere, because there is no alignment on what it is for real. I repeat, when value is everywhere and is everything, value is nowhere and is nothing, because you don't get it right. Let's have an example with what value could be. Here you see some parents. They are super proud of the gift they bought for their children. They bought it on Amazon with a very good delivery and a good price, and say, wow, that's fantastic. This is exactly what I like. And hopefully my kid will love it, because I love what I've done. So probably my customer will love it. The thing is, when you're the customer and the user, this is what you see. So it's not about saying it's good, just to say the perspective is totally different. And the perception of the value is totally different again. So value is a matter of perception. So I will go there quickly. Thoughts become perception. Perception becomes reality. Alter your thought, so you alter reality. This sentence is a game changer. Here there is no metrics. There is no ratio. We don't talk about money. We just tell you, this quote tells us that if you want to change the reality, you have to change the perception of people. If you want to change the reality, you have to change the perception of people. If you want to change the customer behavior to you, you have to change and to try to influence the perception of what you do to the customer. And it may not be that expensive in the end. If you take an example in everyday life, if you meet someone at your office, there is not a good fit. You don't know why, but you feel this guy, wow, it's not exactly the person I want to work with. Your cognitive bias, day after day, will reinforce the fact that you feel that this guy is not really working well. Just a matter of perception, and it becomes a reality. And maybe this guy will be fired because the perception of what he's doing is wrong. In everyday business, you have probably experienced the fact that you saw some people getting promoted to go to the higher level, and you say, how is it possible? This guy doesn't do anything at work. I mean, he's not so smart, but he gets promoted. The answer is very simple. The perception of the reality is that this guy is fantastic, and you cannot fight against perception. You can make all the reports you want. You can show all the performance you want in figures. If the perception of your work is lower than the perception of your colleague will get promoted. Perception matters a lot. And value chain is about understanding the perception of the employees. If you understand the perception of the customer and transform it, you win. If you understand the perception of your employees and change it, you win. If you understand the perception of your partner and change it, you win. Perception is about feeling. This is why companies don't really get it. Most of the company, they want a plan. They want a target for at the end, not of the month, at the end of the week. They want a number. It is not compliant with when you fall in love, you cannot say to your wife, well, darling, I want you to be fully in love with me at the end of the week. Please show me how much you love me. It doesn't make sense. We know that, we understand it, but we don't apply and we don't take the good decision. Let's have a look on the value from different perspectives in the company. So if you are in finance, value could be profit, savings, cash, shareholder value, inventory, blah, 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 percentage and money. Customer value should be maybe, just example, speed of delivery, discount, availability, woo, cool product, amazing service. So it could be figures because it could be cheap product, but it is much more about emotion, smiley, and word of mouth, recommendation. If you go for employee value, it could be value, could be reward, could be bonus, it could be no micromanagement, and more leaders, less manager and more leaders, more consideration, more respect, more feedback, and so on and so forth. So it could be figures, as you can see, money, but it's a lot about smiley, flow, engagement, and creativity. So again, value depends on where you stand and depend on your perception. And if you don't understand that, you will never be able to influence the value. So how to get started to find the value? Many people already told us the answer. The first value you need to capture is the value of the customer. And I've been through the flow to tell you, understand the value, what the customer value, you need to understand customer perception. If you get it, if you understand that, you will succeed. Jeff Bezos from Amazon said you should be obsessed by customer. He even say in the first letter he wrote in 98, you have to be terrified by your customer. You have to be terrified by your customer. Because if you lose your customer, you lose your business. Customer is not your friend. You're there to be the best. So you have to be terrified. Your customer isn't happy, be terrified. In most of the company, you are not terrified by the customer first. You are terrified by your boss and the boss of your boss. They terrify you, not the customer. Let's go to this drawing coming from SCORE model. It is not complete, but that's okay. So many people attending today are supply chain specialists, so you know this model. So plan, source, make, deliver, there is no plan. Here, as we saw, so there is a value of the customer, internal value that could be financial or employees, and value of the partner. If you keep on focusing on silo, here you try to load your truck, you try to fill the truck. Good, super excellent. Here you try to make longer batch of production to decrease cost. Good, excellent. Here you try to buy as cheap as you can. That's fantastic. And here you try not to pay. You try to delay because you need cash, so you don't want to pay. You need to save money. And here you try to get the money faster, and maybe the quality will not be exactly good. If you focus on those vertical excellence, good. Not a good idea. If you focus here, following the principle of customer value, if you try to understand the perception and if you try to win the hurt, I repeat, the hurt of the customer, you win. It's important to understand that disruption on the market are not coming from competitor. Disruption and threat are not coming from your product or your service. Disruption is coming by customer behavior. They decide what they need. You don't decide what they want. Company want to build product that people would like to buy. It's not what you should do. You need to make product and service that people want to buy. They want it. So if you don't understand customer perception, there's no chance you will survive. And it is not the fault of your competitor. It is because you failed in understanding customer. If you understand the value here, you can explain to the people in delivery what the value is and they can align. If people from delivery understand what value is for the customer, they can explain to the make people and they can manufacture. If people from make understand, they can explain to source and go so on and so forth. So this is good. This is what you should say. The last sentence that you can see is really something you need to practice. If you want value, if you want results, if you want to get different outcomes, you really need to do something you have never done. It's simple. You probably know that. You probably understand it. But value chain will help you to go for action. You really to make it different. You really need to forget what you think you know. The problem is what you think you know is your enemy. Be humble. Just say you don't know. Just discover and learn. So here, the perfect fit in where internal value meet value for the customer. Internal value is financial and employee value, and value for the customer could be multiple. It could be the perception of the brand, like a Louis Vuitton. You buy a very small bag for 1,000 euro. Oh wow, amazing! That's super good. But if you buy the same bag with no Louis Vuitton on it, it worth probably 50 euro. Value for money. You're happy with the service compared to the spending. And price for use, you have a low usage, so you want to have to pay low price. So the formula to create value is simple. You start with this, be obsessed by this. If you understand that, people will understand and they will engage. If they engage, you will get results. This is the only way to go. You can try any kind of different formula. Just look the data in the past. Just look the budget you were targeting in the past and just see that achieved or not. But on the long term, there is no other formula than this one. So let's go to the value chain principle, which are very close to antiquity and close to Apple's statement. So it's all about love. Why? Because it's all about understanding perception, truly want to understand. You have to make it simple. It is not like the agility map. If you make it too much difficult, people, they will not buy it. They will not get it. And it's just about a framework where people can navigate. If you remember the picture of the boat, there is a destination and then you find a direction. Make it simple. Don't try to cut into pieces the value and to process it. Organize everything around the value. Do fewer things better. Select carefully what you want to learn and what kind of innovation you want to bring to the market. And make it systemic. This message is extremely strong. Systemic. Why? Let's say that you manage extremely well for COVID crisis. You end up pretty well. But if you don't understand how to make it systemic, you will have to reinvent something for the next crisis that could be in 1 year or even less. So you have to make it systemic. Value chain approach of FSO is totally systemic. Whatever the wind you face, whatever the obstacle you face, value chain will guide you to find a way. Value chain program. So we are going to share what the program is about. I'm going to share the story. If you need more detail, contact us and we will be happy during a conf call to go deeper. I will just share the high level way to go. Ready? Go. This program is all about creating engagement here. This program is all about people first. Why? In this drawing, you understand very easily that if you force the egg, if you force the transformation, the egg will break and the life ends. It's not because you know what you do. It's not because you understand what you do. If you force people to do it, it will break, even if you have the solution. The value chain program we do is focusing on people here to let them go into the journey, to understand as a team what they do, to discover what the value is, to discover the different perception, to discover the lever on a daily basis, how to make it happen, to discover how to fail, how to learn, and how to team up, and to discover joy of learning. And if you let it go, life begins. But the thing which is crazy about this one, when you do that once, you get totally addicted to it. When you understand that through tough job, difficult engagement, you learn, you will keep on growing all your lifelong. If you decide to go for not the easy part, but to go for the challenging one, you will always, always, always grow. Whatever you age, 25, 30, 50, 55, you don't know anything. Stay humble. Keep on growing. Keep on doing new stuff. Change the way of thinking. Do things differently. Value at a glance. So this is the different step you have to go through. It's a little more better than agility, but still, there are many of information on that. First, start by understanding if the customer loves you. That's important. If they don't love you, probably start with this and try to understand what they love to make a plan. And you'd better ask the customer what they want. You better know. Once you understand how they see you, you are going to work in team to define for real what the value chain is. based only and solely on customer expectation. I repeat, the value chain is only and solely about customer expectation, nothing to do with finance. When you make a value chain mapping, it's all about what the customer would like to see. Then, in the step number 3, it's all about you. Customer have some need and expectation, but you have some constraint. You have some financial goal, and you need to prioritize what's for you. Once you have made the prioritization of the value chain, you need to understand and to align your team on what matters the most to win the heart of the customer. Should it be speed? Should it be reliability? Or do you want to make cheap product? Whatever. You need to understand, but you need to select, because you cannot be cheap, fast, reliable all in a row. You can hope, but if you do business for real, you know it's not possible. Once you know that, at step 5 and 6 will bring you to understand and to make some customized interview to your customer to make sure you understand how they see you, how they compare you to competitor, and how do they perceive the value, and insist, how do they perceive the value? Perception is much higher than metrics. You could be the most clever guy of the world. You could be the richest guy of the world, and you may not be capable to seduce other women. Of course not. So it's about being super strong. It's about understanding what people expect from you. Ready? So those steps can be fulfilled in a month. It's extremely fast, super easy, because there is nothing to prepare, almost nothing. It's really energizing because people they feel they understand. As opposed to the past, they see the value chain. They see we make love visible. They see it. It's not about the sales pitch. There is no filter. It's direct connection. Super engaging. So this one is probably the most important slide of the presentation of today. The DP Earth set matrix. The objective of this matrix is to make love visible. To make love visible, you have to ask your customer 2 questions. Would you recommend our product and service to a colleague? And is it easy to work with us? Let's go for recommendation for a while. Most of the people know, and we call that the net promotion score, but we'll see that. There was a study from...
Sorry, Roberto speaking. Probably on the top of the screen is hidden the first question.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You have the board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Thank you, Roberto. Yeah. So Roberto is my boss, so Roberto is always right. Thank you. So recommendation. So they made a survey, Nielsen and Roper, they made a survey, and they show that the power of recommendation, that we could call word of mouth, is extremely strong. I will give you an example. You want to go, you want to go for vacation. Let's say you want to go to Thailand or you want to go to Italy. It is not you, Roberto. I don't know if it is you. And you are making some researches on internet to find what is the best hotel to go. You spend hours and hours and on internet, and you at the end of the day you say, well, I will go for Hyatt hotel. It looks this is the best. That's fantastic. And the day after, you meet your best friend, and you say, well, I'm going to go to Thailand, and your discussion, and your friend say, well, I've been to Thailand last year. It was fantastic. And you say, don't go to Hyatt, go to Hilton. It's much better. At this very moment, you will change. You will go for Hilton. You will go because your best friend told you to go there. Whatever the money Hyatt has invested to make promotion of the service, whatever the money they put on the web so you can find them better, whatever the money they put on the web to say they were super good, your best friend say go to Hilton, you go to Hilton right away. Recommendation is extremely powerful. Easiness. Easiness is a little less famous than recommendation, but it tends to become more and more famous, and some analyses show that people having difficulty during their customer journey or customer experience journey, they may become disloyal. That means if it's difficult to interact with your company, I may not go again with you. People working in procurement and purchasing understand that extremely right. Sometimes you're dealing with supplier, this is a pure headache. They are good, but this is a pure headache. You would like it to be easier. The same for sales. So when you have those two questions, you build what we call the make love visible. What does it mean? If someone say, I really love your service, 9 and 10. And I find the service super easy to interact. I buy, you deliver. I've got a problem, you make me a credit. I don't have to fill a form to make pictures and to wait ages. Decide. Be sure that your customer will not leave with for the competition fast. They will not, because it's too much value. Not only they like the product, but on the top of that, it's super easy to deal with you. This is a lot of value. The same in your life, the same at your job. If you work for a company, you are super proud of working for the company. You love this company a lot, and you find it very easy to collaborate. Easy doesn't mean there is no issue. Easy means when there is an issue, you can solve the issue with positive mindset, respecting each other. If you find it easy, there is a great chance that you will not quit your job for a better wage. There is a funny study about this. 80% of the manager think that the employee will leave if a competitor gives little more money, like 10%. To the same survey, employees said that 80% of the time they will not leave for money if they're happy at work. This is fact and figures. This is exact reality. And it works for everything. Let's take another example. If people say, let's say here, your product is good, but it's super difficult to work with you. You are in real danger, because the next competitor making life easier to your customer, like easier to order, easier to know what your product is, easier to get the status of the delivery, easier to see the invoice, easier to return, and return is key in supply chain. The easiest you can return, the most you will engage people. You will lose this customer if you find one that is delivering is easier to work with. So this matrix helps you to capture what they think of you, and you don't need any other metrics. Here you don't talk about on time in full. You don't talk about lead time. Just the perception matter much more than your metrics. If you spend your time saying I'm super good because I've got 98%, I'm super strong because I think I'm fast, you're going to lose your customer one after the other. Just like in your normal life, if you come every day at 6 p.m. at night and you are super organized, does it bring love to your family? There is no connection. It's not about metrics. This one is inspiring because it's about Amazon, about the revenue. What is inspiring with Amazon is a very distinctive example of the power of easiness. Why? In terms of ethics, Amazon is rated at 0. I can share the survey with you. So not from perception. People make some analysis how Amazon is going for environment, animals, everything. Rate is 0. Amazon is extremely bad for ethics. It's not good for the planet. Definitely not. When they've been asking, do you like Amazon as a company? It is really average. Average, that means that the NPS is 7%. Just for your knowledge, between 20 to 40 is okay. 40 to 60 is really great. Above 60 it's fabulous. It is really average. But Amazon is the easiest company to deal with in the world. Amazon makes you think they are the easiest. People who buy at Amazon, they know that sometimes they don't deliver in full. People that buy at Amazon, they know that sometimes they deliver late. But you perceive they're the strongest. You perceive they're the best company. And when you buy, it's very easy to buy and very easy to return. Just with easiness, Amazon is mastering the business. Just with easiness, not ethics. Just with easiness. So easiness is very powerful. What means easiness for you? It cannot be easy for the customer if it is not easy for your employee. It cannot be easy for the customer if it is not easy for the employee. The magic formula: customer first, employee second, money third. Make it easy for the customer, make it easy for your people. Second step. So this one, we do that in a working session. At this working session, we need the CEO or the MD. Don't do a value chain segmentation if the CEO is not there. Just don't do it. It will bring zero value. You are going to waste your time. The CEO has to be there, and all the assignment we've done, the CEO is very happy to be there, and at the end of the session, is willing to know more about the next step. So it's not risky to invite him. You need to understand that for this session, you don't have to prepare anything. You don't have to prepare any analysis, nothing. You just have to prepare yourself to spend a big deal of work. You have to prepare to sweat, to engage, and to have fun. The first thing you do during this session is you try to identify as a team the market channel. In the room, you need the CEO, the financial director, sales director, customer service representative, logistic director, supply chain director, warehouse director, HR director, quality director, and if you can, you should invite influential people of the company, people that you think they should be aware of this because they're going to cascade down what we do. You can do this working session easily with 5 people till 30. It does not change anything to the story. It does not change anything to the timing. So here, the first question is understand your market. This is the most difficult. People think they know, but when they will make discussion, and I can share more detail when on the conf call, this one is a little challenging to do. It takes on average 45 to 1 hour to clearly understand the different route to market, consumer, organization by sector, and so on and so forth. Then you are going to make your product line in terms of categories or family, not SKU, categories family. This one is going super fast because people, they know that. They don't have to prepare, they know it. Once you have this with the team, you put across each time this kind of product is bought by this group of customers. Very simple. So you see where who is buying what. Now come into the game perception. To make the value chain segment, you have to understand its value chain segment about perception. You ask salespeople, not the CEO. Salespeople and customer service is a very good idea because they know and they deal on a daily basis with the customer. You ask them to make group based on how do the customer behave with you? How do you understand about the expectation? How do you feel about their volatility? How do you feel about the way they treat you? Is it homogeneous? If you do this game for yourself and ask about, and you say, well, you are really able to group your friends and your colleagues in group. You say, those kind of people almost the same way because they behave the same way, they are polite the same way, blah, blah, blah. So you can create group just on perception. Value chain segmentation is not about being rational and scientific. The purpose of value chain segmentation, the first time you do it, is to create alignment first. If you fail, don't throw it. You will learn and you will do it again. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't try to go too deep into the detail. Globally right as opposed to precisely wrong. Okay, globally right as opposed to precisely wrong. So you make a discussion, and during the discussion, everybody in the room will listen to that, and they will learn a lot. You will share a lot of value with no PowerPoint, with no email, with no Skype meeting. Just being in the same room, they will understand how the market is working. That's a lot of value for manufacturing. That's a lot of value for people in procurement, because this is the first time they will be so close to understand who the customers are. And you will end up with this kind of segmentation. What does it mean here? That means that for those group of customers, they don't behave exactly the same way here and here. They don't have exactly the same expectation. By tuition, you understand. If you sell commodity product, let's say on CPG, the tension, the pressure for commodity product is super strong. It has to be cheap, fast, complete. If you launch a new product, maybe the pressure will be lower. Maybe your customer wants to be the first to be delivered. So it's not the same expectation. So it's a different value chain. I insist, value chain. We don't talk about supply yet. A different perceptions, a different value chain. Don't try to connect those cross. Don't try to connect those chains to your physical network, to your physical organization. It's not the way to go. When you buy on Amazon, you don't care that the product is coming from China, France, Mars. You just buy. You want it. And this is what matters. It's interesting to see that Amazon itself has two distinct value chains. and you pay for Prime because it helps. They force you to tell them, I'm a super nervous customer, or I need fast delivery, so I buy to get better service. I put the money on the table. That's a good example. I put money to get better service. And doing so, all the suppliers know, Amazon, that they will value speed. So there are different supply chain. In the end, with the segmentation, by experience, the minimum number of value chain segments we had was 7. The biggest number we've been through was 25. In terms of customer segmentation here, the smaller number we had was 6 different channels. The biggest number was 80. For product, it was 10 lines, and the biggest 200 lines. Whatever the number, you need maximum 3 hours to do that. In 3 hours, with the key stakeholders in the room, you make visible value chain. And it's a very beneficial day, believe me. Second, when you are obsessed by customer perception, you have to be obsessed about your value. What matters for you? And this is why we need the CEO. The CEO has to be there, because CEO will generate discussion, but it will have a final cut. He will say, I think that turnover is important, margin, volume like kilo, linear meter, market opportunity, strategic importance, whatever. You choose what is important for you. During this discussion, you create a lot of value in the room because people will discuss and you have to make decisions and they will understand why it's important or not. Then there is a tool that we don't share today, that we call pairwise comparison, that will help everybody in the room to generate discussion to make those ratios. Those ratios are necessary to make prioritization. You don't do that like that. You compare, is it more important turnover to margin? Is it more important turnover compared to volume? So there is a tool, very funny. You don't have to get trained. It's visual. And let's say in 1 hour, you get this prioritization. Again, it may not be perfect, but at least you create alignment and at least you learn something and you try. And here, as you can see, this is value chain. It's not the customer name. It is not the product. I go backward. This is all of this. And for people from marketing, they will feel that it's a totally different way of thinking. Because usually here, maybe you have automotive sector, medical sector, aerospace sector. And with value chain, you say, wow, all of this, I've got the same expectation. So the way to communicate, the way to do marketing will completely change. So you put value chain here. And then you need, this is the moment where you need data. This is the moment. So this work, you do it the first day of the workshop, and then you have 1 week to 2 weeks, depending on how easy for you to get the data. You have to fill all of those different figures with data. This one is not about data, can be just by judgment, but CEO and C-level judgment. In the end, you end up with prioritization. So for the sake of this example, in the end, you end up saying, well, this value chain is super important for me. Number 1, value chain 2, top 2, and the last one, value chain 4, top 3. Now you have the value chain. Now you know that all your key criteria are taken into account. As a boss, you feel much, much better. You feel that, it looks like people understand where we go. Your purpose is appearing by practice. You don't have to make a session of what is mission and vision. Don't lose your time on that. Vision is one sentence, basta, there is nothing else. Here, you will find your purpose alone. Then you make this kind of activity, which is extremely exciting. It is not totally the SCORE methodology. We've changed it a little, and there are some variation, and we can align on the variation with you, is you need to, for each value chain here, 1, 2, and you have to assess what is the most important for you as superior. It is in red because it is the most important thing you should focus on. Then you can put one advantage, that means the second criteria where you would like to be better than most of the competitor, not the first, but better than average. And parity, you will be equal to competitor. And for each value chain with the same team, you have to decide what is the most important attribute where you need to perform to create value? Is it to deliver on time in full? Is it to be the fastest? Reliability and speed are different. You can be reliable making delivery in 1 month. You can be not reliable making delivery in 2 days. It's not the same game. So those one are for customer value. Second, do you want to be super cost effective on the full supply chain? Could be the priority. Or do you want to focus on cash to cash cycle to be the full priority? Only in one country, in all the workshops we made for the first value chain, cost came first, only once. For all the other workshops, cost never came first. Because any business leader know that growing, know that value is about developing you and not cutting cost only. But it could be, depending on your business, if you are on low cost business, why not? So this is the way to set your strategy. What is the power of this? Let's make an example. Okay, the time is running short. When you do that in the room, that means, I take this one, I like this one, number 2. That means that you have a purchase order, you know the value chain, you know the customer and the product, and you are in the warehouse. And you have an option. Should I wait the day after to fill the truck, or should I deliver today, even though the truck is not full? You have the answer. You have to be speedy. You ship. Even if the truck is not loaded, it's not important. Because we said, as a team, that speed matters much more. And you don't have to ask, because everybody knows it. In production, the same. Responsiveness is key. So once the product is manufactured, you stop and you don't make a longer run because you need it ASAP. It's extremely powerful. The same here. If cost is important, reliability is not. You need to maximize the truckload. You don't send it till it's not full, regardless of performance reliability, because everybody is aligned on that. So people on the ground, people making execution, they don't have to ask. They know what they have to do. It's clear. And you don't have to solve on your own the equation between cost, cash, and service, because the equation is solved right at the top, and then you can work and you can team up. After you do that, this one, I will go a little faster. As a team, for value chain 1, in this example, you try with your colleagues to assess how you see yourself. I repeat, how you see yourself compared to the competitor and the customer high. So you are going to say, well, I think that out of a scale from 0 to 100, if I ask one of my customers, it will say that my performance reliability is 70. And maybe it will say that the competitor number 1, my pure nightmare is 90, and my competitor number 2, nightmare number 2 is 80. And you do that for all the criteria. You do it without knowing, and you don't need to benchmark. I insist, you don't need to have the metric, because what matters is your perception, and you need to check after the perception with the customer. This is a very good exercise, because at the end of this exercise, you will learn whether you have a good understanding or if you can improve. 100% of the case, when people, they do that with the salespeople, customer, and the CEO, they get it wrong. That's normal. That's totally normal. And that's great learning, and people are very happy to learn. When you do this, now you have to check with the customer. And we organize extremely short survey, extremely fast, with a tool that we call customer value analysis. Helps to ask a very simple question to the customer. The way to deliver the question at maximum takes 1 hour maximum. And you end up, when you do the compilation of all the different answers, you end up with the weight of the different criteria, and you end up with your position compared to competitor. All about perception, because if a customer feels you are not good, it's more important to check metrics are compliant with this or not. Your metrics may be better than the competitor, but if the customer feels not good, you better understand the perception. Don't try to argue about your figures. Listen to the perception, just like at work. Okay, you feel you have done a great work. Someone tells you it's not good. Listen. Don't try to argue. Listen and discover. Here in this funny drawing, the square is you, and all the circle are the competitor. So at the end of the survey, you discover that speed of delivery is the most important thing for the customer. and you don't perform extremely well. You discover that you have put in place a fantastic tracking tool. You have invested money all over to track. You are doing pretty well, but it's just 11% weight on what they want to value. And in the end, you have a clear understanding of where you stand. And of course, you know that you have to start here. If you want to develop value of the customer, you focus on speed. What does it mean in reality? Don't spend too much time there, even though it could be important. Do that a little later. Don't spend time there because it's not that important for them as opposed to what you saw. Focus here. Of course, the dynamic of the customer is changing. This is why value chain are systemic. Because you do this kind of exercise on a regular basis to understand and to track how the perception is moving. And if you understand the exercise right, you will track the perception with a DP matrix. If the perception is getting better, that means you're on the right track. If the financial figures are getting better, that means you're on the right track. If not, you have to read it again. Customer value analysis, I insist, simple, few questions, extremely meaningful, as opposed to survey that we see in company of 60 pages, cutting performance into small pieces and try to make some you cannot manage with. Then, once you do that, you need to launch project. And to be honest, there is no option. You have 3 projects to launch, all at the same time, because it's about synchronization. You launch a project which is called business rules, where you want to understand better and better what customer you do. We'll do the customer value analysis. You want to set some regular meetings with your customer service to understand what you are losing performance, what you are losing in terms of perception. In the meantime, exactly in the meantime, you have to launch a project about planning, scheduling. You can call it the way you want, but let's call it planning. And here, you try to understand every day why your performance is not the one expected. And if the horizon of your performance is good enough. Should it be in a day? Should it be 1 week horizon? Should it be a month? You need to understand where you are. In the same time, you need to put supplier management here to understand how they feel about you and to manage the performance. 3 projects, not 1, 3, because we work with people executing. We need those guys to connect. We need those guys to create step-by-step mutual understanding. By experience, it takes 3 months to set up understanding. During the first 3 months, people are a little confused, but they are learning a lot. On a weekly basis, they learn a lot. And they really understand that they don't know so much in the end. But after 3 months, they try to connect the dots and they feel better and better. Then, when you do those projects, you need to track some indicator. I will go to the easiest one. There is another indicator about sweat, but let's go to the easy one. For business rule, could be on time in full, inventory of finished product, lead time, claims, perception, DP matrix. For planning, could be adherence to schedule or production schedule accuracy, capacity planning, lead time. As a big company, you have thousands of indicators, but we need to select few of those. The same for supplier. Here come the FSO stuff and the lean thinking. If you track performance this way on a daily basis, you will not learn anything. This is a classical view of key performance indicator. You just see, well, it's not bad, it's very bad, it's getting better. By the way, this example is for real. What we do with you on a daily basis, because it takes time, we do and we put in place in the supply chain what we call the upside-down view. Upside-down view is about understanding what we call loss. Loss is not the root cause. Loss is a category of reason that help explain why you did not succeed. In manufacturing, loss analysis is known for almost 50 years, and company master that for the last 20 years. In supply chain, loss analysis don't exist as a standard. You can go on internet, you tap loss analysis in supply chain, you will find nothing. If you go on internet and you tap losses in manufacturing for a machine, you will find thousands of documents, and most of them will be from FSO. But in supply chain, it's a complete game changer. People think that loss is a problem. People think they do that already. They tell us, yes, but we have that on the ERP. 100% of the time, the way to categorize the losses is not the right one. And we help them. We don't tell them what to do. We help them to discover what should be the best solution. By experience, it takes a little less than 2 months to understand what should be the good categorization. I insist there is no way to do the categorization in the at a management level, thinking that you are going to help people on the ground. It has to be done by people executing. It has to be understood by people doing the execution on a daily basis. It is not something you should do as a manager to say, I'm going to help you, and you have to feel the right cause. It's not the way it's working. So this one is coming from Carlo Baroncelli, and Tobias told me that. If you don't understand your loss, you don't understand your performance. What does it mean? Here, you could think you're good, or you could think you're good. But if you don't know why you are not the best, you don't understand your performance. Losses is the very first thing you do to understand how to deliver value in the end. You need to understand on a daily basis why you're losing. It takes time. It's not easy. But when you do that for business rules, sales, planning, and procurement, starting at the very low of the organization, executing people, it's really a master to make improvement. Why? Because it's much faster than any other method. SNOP, IBP are great methodology. We know by experience that it takes 2 years as a minimum to be average on SNOP. I repeat, it takes 2 years as a minimum to be average on SNOP. With this, in 3 weeks, 3 months, you understand and you can make action and decision to improve. Of course, you will need SNOP, but you need to start with this as well. Once you understand your losses, you see that, again, sorry, I come here. This is a true graph from a customer we've been working with. Maybe someone recognize it. And you see that just measuring every day, performance has increased. Why? Because when people understand, when people connect, they try to change their behavior. They try to change the consequences of their behavior for the other function, other department. And step by step, you can make some major increase just understanding. In the end, when you know what is the losses you should track, of course, you are going to have a very specific there. You are not going to do all of them, and you are going to increase it. Well, this is the end of the, let's end with the figures. At the end of those working session and the end of the project on a specific value chain, this is the kind of results you can achieve. You will improve by 40% the recommendation because we are obsessed by keeping connection with the customer during the project. You will clearly see a much better, deeper engagement of the employee having fun. You will decrease OTIF losses. So it's just about the losses, 30% less losses. You will decrease lead time by 30% on average, and you will improve cost operation by 15%. This is figures. And to go there, you need on average 6 months for a specific value chain. Here, this is the value proposition of FSO for value chain. Our fast, simple, and anti-fragile approach help company. We want to unlock value for customer by building strong value chain to empower people and systemizing and mastering value chain management. Value chain as a system, value chain as a routine. This is the result of a survey we sent to a few of those, so we got only 10 answers, but this is good enough. And here we've been asking to the participant, would you recommend your company? So it's just to put the DP matrix in practice. And do you think it is easy to work in your company? The results are pretty funny. So most of the people would recommend the company, but for this guy here, we can understand it's not so easy. So internal complexity is high, so there is a little risk. The same for those guys. This guy, whatever you do with this guy, he's so happy to come at work that he will generate great results and great outcome because he's really happy to be there. Second part is, what is the biggest pressure for you? It is internal or external. Without any surprise, internal is bigger. This figure, each time you do this survey, is almost the same, 70 to 80. This is a big learning for managers. They feel the internal pressure much bigger than external, much, much bigger. This one is, what do you feel is the most important for the customer? So it's a little surprise for me because usually shorter lead time is coming first. So price and reliability. Good. So in the end, when we've been asking for you what is the most important for value, is it customer, employee, or financial perspective? With absolutely no surprise, everybody knows and feel customer matter first. So now this is the end of the presentation. I hope that the understanding on how to start the value chain and why you should start the value chain journey as soon as you can is clear. And thank you for your patience. And let me know if you have some questions. Vincent, if you're still there, it is yours.
Hello, everyone. You are open to unmute yourself and ask questions. Go ahead.
Jean-Marc, one question from me. Can you give some indication about budget?
Roberto, this is you?
Yes.
Okay, no, so budget, we can have a discussion. You know the budget we've been through. So the budget is split in different, without showing the numbers, it's affordable, and you can split the budget in different phases. You can have a budget just to go to make visible the value chain prioritization. And most of the time people who go there want to go further, so they go for the project. And most of the time after the project, because they're happy with the work and the engagement of the people, they go for making systemic, to do it for all the value chain. So you have three different budgets: the starter kit, project budget, and then to make it systemic. But you know the numbers, Roberto. So what do you want, like a range, or? Because today it's not only internal, Roberto. Okay, so I would say this is the budget you want because you are the boss. So the budget for how to make the value chain segmentation for real and to make it the good way, in terms of budget, you need to go for something around 60K for just making the value chain visible and to make the selection, depending on the size of the company, of course. To sustain the project and to achieve results, decent budget is around 150. To make it systemic, it really depends on the size of the company.
Okay, thank you.
But it can change. It can be much more, it can be much less, depending on how big you are.
Jean-Marc, thanks for this great presentation. Just to understand, about your experience to implement this kind of process, how long time, to see this change, the minimum time, that you think that we can see after implementation of this project, how long time to see?
So just to give you ideas of the timing. So the timing to go from zero, first meeting, to prepare a workshop, to do the workshop, and to make a value chain visible is between 3 weeks to 6 weeks maximum. Once you go for prioritization and you set up the project, to feel you're on the right way, and to feel that there is a change in the behavior of your employee, and to feel that customers are getting more positive, 3 months. To see tangible results like a clear improvement in KPI, could be on time in full or perception of the customer with feedback and even more business, 6 months at the wall, but I insist for a specific value chain, 6 months. Does it answer to the question, Eric? So this is why we say it's fast. This is why we say it's fast. And the magic of this is, and we have a customer that we really love. I don't know if you're there, Laurent, but be aware, just like everything with dealing with new things, people can be in a confusing mode. And what we do in FSO, we face this, of course, and sometimes we do workshop with 50 to 70 people. So we manage this communication, and people, they go through difficulty because they feel they don't get it right, which is normal because they learn. And after this gap, 2 to 3 months after, they really feel capable to do it, and smile are on the face. The CEO is smiling again, even if the result cannot touch and feel euro. Most of the testimony are, oh my goodness, people are doing stuff. They connect. They try to ask the right question. They try to understand what the customer wants. They try to understand what it means for me in scheduling. They try to understand what it means for me in procurement, which is in the experience we have, totally new. So you see this change in 3 months.
And when you have this kind of project to manage, who is who is coming, from who about the request and your contact? Is the CEO? It's because in fact, one thing is great, about your presentation. We can see that it's not by silo. It's a whole organization and executive management committee has to manage the point. But who is your contact, on day to day?
So C-level has to be there here, plus influential guy. Influential guy could be, I don't know, someone in a specific plan, not maybe, of course, the plan manager, but maybe number 2 as well. And it's always a good idea to bring people in the first workshop, because the first workshop can accept 5 to 50. And in real, we did it till 30. And they create alignment. Then for this one, you need as well the C-level and everybody. And for this one again, after this, you go directly with the people from operation. So that means, could it be the scheduling, the guy in charge of scheduling, the guy in charge of planning, the people in charge of procurement. So it's very operational. And of course, to maintain contact with C-level, it's a good idea, depending on how you feel, to make a monthly meeting with the C-level to show the progress, to show the learnings, to share where we feel we're going. So, and for that, you need them only 4 hours per month. So at the beginning, 2 to 3 days, then 4 hours per month to track and monitor. Does it answer to the question, Eric?
Yes, clearly.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Jean-Marc, there are on the meeting chat.
Yes. Okay, I'm not okay. So I have to go in the meeting chat.
I can read them if you want to.
Yes, please tell me what should be the
one. How often do you need to refresh your value chain analysis?
C'est Nuno?
From Nicolas Miesch. Yes, it's Nuno, but
okay, no. So let's go. So
how are you, Jean-Marc? But it's from Nicolas Miesch.
Okay. So the answer is always the same. It depends. So when you get started, and this is the really funny part with value chain, you will decide yourself when you do it again. Because when people understand it, at the first project, they say, well, now I understand better. Maybe I want to re-challenge. So as a minimum, once a year, sure, strictly minimum. But depending on how you feel, because the more you go through this approach, the more you will capture perception, and the more you will be able to say, well, I need to re-challenge my value proposition. This is something we don't cover today in the webinar. But the power of this approach is that you understand why you should change value proposition, and maybe you can try to look for solution. And when you do that, you are going to refresh your value chain segmentation. So in the experience we have, on the time period of 1 year, we did it 2 times with 1 customer. But the beauty of the work, the way to do it, when you do it once, you really get it, you really understand. And you can do it on your own because you really capture that. Where FSO is super powerful is to create spark, to create the engagement, to set up the system of losses, and to set up, which is extremely challenging, the systemic sustainability. Systemic means do the decision I took, do the perception I've been focusing, deliver the expected results. If not, what can I do? Thank you, Nuno. Other questions? Vincent, do you have some question on the chat?
This is Idle.
Idle, hello.
This is Idle. Hey, very, very interesting webinar, and having seen the feedback from many clients that work with you on this segmentation and end-to-end loss elimination, this always works. So congratulations. One question, how much in your experience is important in this end-to-end loss eradication effort, value stream mapping, etc., to involve the actual external interfaces like a supplier or a customer?
This is why you're the boss. Very good question. Yes, I mean, when you first, from the customer side, you you involve, not especially in the workshop, but you do a lot of interaction with the customer first to deliver the customer value analysis, and you engage sales and customer service a lot with the customer. And then on regular basis, of course, not every day, but you set up a system to track how the customer in the change, and there is a specific way to do that, not to harass the customer. So you engage the customer a lot. Why? Because we need to see that love is coming higher. If the CEO see that, wow, the customer are more and more positive about what we do, you know that you're on the right track. Because a happy customer will buy maybe more. Maybe the customer will be a little less tough with you and a little less demanding on price. So we gave a very short example with a story. If you go to the restaurant, a fabulous restaurant, quite expensive, and let's say 200 euro for a person, very expensive, and the service is bad, you have to wait 2 hours. You will end up saying, guys, well, I need a discount because it's not good value for me. The mistake to do is to think that you are too expensive and that you need to lower the price to 80 or 150. It's not a good idea because the problem was the service, not the price. So as soon as you improve service, price is not an issue. And we saw with customers that improving the service, they've been able to delete some claims with money. The customer was claiming some compensation, just delete it. Say, I'm super happy with the improvement. Now let's talk about new product and let's forget about the past. So when you're good in understanding the perception, people be much more open to value and not price-driven behavior. Second, for the supplier, when we do the value stream mapping and we try to engage customer, employee and supplier, yes, we invite a supplier because we need to understand the perception and we need to understand the different connection because it will be part of the game. So yes, we involve them.
Jean-Marc, there's no question from the platform. However, there's one in the chat. I just read out. The question from Ward: how do you balance between conflicts of interest between different value chains in the company? Example: same product group but different customer expectations.
So you balance here first because as you say, let's take an example. Let's say you have to balance this one against this one. The process and the beauty of the process make that at this moment here, the CEO with the C-level people, they take decision. And you understand why I've started with taking decision is more important than being smart. Because take decision will really make a difference. So when you decide what's important with this, you end up with a prioritization. And in this game, you see that, for instance, let's take the example. So this one is second and 3. So you see that the second one is more important than the 3. So it's already balanced because when you decide to focus on value chain 2, the game is to understand there and to make it as good as you can. Maybe 6 months later, you say, I want to improve there again. But at first, you focus there because you cannot distill, you cannot fragment your energy. And during this learning process, of course, you will get side effects. But it should be balanced right at the beginning because the CEO gave the direction. And this is where you need to stick to your talk. Maybe you cannot solve all of the conflicting problem of interest, but at least the CEO and the C-level took a direction, and you better try to do what they want. Does it answer to your question, Vincent?
Yes, it was my question.
No, but this is powerful because, for instance, value chain number 3, which is not a priority here, priority is number 4.
Clear.
Everybody knows in the company that it's not a priority. So if you want to say I'm super good for value chain number 3, nobody cares because it is not what we want to do. Forget about this. Okay.
Clear.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you.
Any further questions from anyone? There's a new question. Let me read out. Since the employees are the second most important after customers, is there any KPIs on the model that checks on weekly or monthly basis internal pressure or employee happiness? This is from Hamza Bellamy.
Yes, of course. Hamza, hello. Yes, of course. And whatever the question you have, one of the first answer will be the DP matrix. Why? Because this matrix you can apply to your people. The problem in most of the company, I say not all of them, is to have the courage to ask. You need to have the courage to ask the people, do you like the company? Do you find it easy? You need to be brave enough to see the results. If you want to ignore the results, you are going to ignore your future, and you are going to destroy value. You need to ask. It's not a good idea not to ask. Just like when you're married. If you don't ask your wife, if you don't ask your husband, are you happy with me? One question is enough. One question is enough. It's not about, do you have a funny open space? Do you have a fuse ball? Do you have a good meal? Do you have enough light? It's not about this. Love is not about material stuff. Do you love me? If the answer is yes, you know. If the answer is no, you better change. Here, you need to ask a question. Do you like the company because you feel that the company is behaving right? Recommendation. Do you find it easy to collaborate into the company? No. You have to listen. And with this approach, you can track that at the beginning, and 3 months later, believe me, there is a huge difference. You know that at work, when people, they love what they do, it's not about loving the company in the end, it's about you love what you do. Because people, if they feel they are growing as a human person, if they feel they connect with the other, and they have a good play together in business, they will make miracles. They will transform the company in a way that nobody can expect from a CEO point of view. It's really changing the way to do it. The autonomy makes really the difference. You know that, but you need to be brave enough to accept as a boss, I just let it go. You just need to have the answer. And in another webinar, if you want, we can talk about team of teams, which is extremely inspiring. And I can make example with the US Army. They completely changed the way of making organization. Hamza, good? Okay. Good question, Hamza.
Is there any further questions? I think that's it. Hold on. Jean-Marc, is this the approach when we talk about digitalization?
Mm-hmm. I didn't get the question. Is the approach, sorry?
That when we talk about digitalization, how is this approach? This was the text answer question. So
the idea is how do you combine digitalization with this, for instance?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So that's a good question, and we could go really far. The good approach is value chain. When you focus on what matters, you are going to implement digital with purpose. For instance, you don't mean to deploy a full system for everything. I will give you an example. For instance, you would like to capture you would like to inform your customer about the tracking delivery, and you don't have this in the company, and you say, well, I need to see some partner, supplier, I need to make a technical roadmap, blah, 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 100K, 200K. You don't need it. When you know the value chain you want to perform in terms of tracking delivery, you can ask the people to make a message, to take the phone or to send an SMS, depending, a text message, and say, the product has gone. Simple. People say, oh, it's crazy. No, it's not crazy. It's simple. You can ask. You don't need to invest thousands of euros in digital. When you feel there is interest for the customer, when you feel it's important, then you invest. And you invest, again, with purpose. The same for demand. If there is a specific value chain where demand is specifically challenging, and you understand that, you will try to invest in this first without making a complete solution. You test with standard software like Air software. And when you understand it's good for you, you invest with purpose and digital solution to track it. But you know what you're looking for. You know the kind of losses you're looking for. People, they know how to use a tool because they understand all of it. The problem with many different tools, not only digitalization, but digitalization is a good example. You put a tool, but people still don't know what they're supposed to look for. They don't understand value. They don't understand losses. They don't connect together. This is why 80% of the time it's a failure, because an additional tool creates additional complexity. So value chain, the perfect approach to decide when and where you need to invest: equipment, digitalization, training, whatever, because you understand what you know and you can test. The agility is all about this: sense and respond. I test, I see the result, I change. I test, I see the result, I change. When I understand, I make it systemic. If you remember this, it was there. Do less, much less. Do very small. And you could say, do less more often, which is the same, more often. And when you understand, when people understand why they need to do it, then you go for systemic. And digital is a very powerful tool to systemic, because of course, without digitalization, you cannot scale, you cannot handle the data too much. But at the beginning, you don't need to have super digitalization tools. After, yes, and then it's extremely powerful. Is it okay?
Yeah, I think so. It is already timing, so I would say let's stop now. And for any further questions, you may leave a message or send an email direct to Jean-Marc. Thank you, Jean-Marc, for your efforts for this great webinar.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Vincent and Carl, to propose. And I wish you a great day. And I'm very keen on knowing your feedback by text or email to see what can be improved. Thank you very much. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jean-Marc.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Marc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Merci Jean-Marc.
Pleasure.